Let's cut right to the truth here. Pixel Gun 3D has had a lot of problems. One of the biggest problems in this game is the fact that the developers have always added newbie weapons into this game. What is a newbie weapon, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. These are the guns that everybody hated, but everybody still used. They required basically no skill at all, but they still were the most OP weapons in this game. You could give your pet hamster your phone, and he'd figure out how to use these guns. That's how easy these weapons were to use. So, we all know there are many different newbie weapons in this game, but what were the most newbie weapons in Pixel Gun 3D history? This is ExxotikGaming, and today we're going to answer that question. So sit back, relax, grab a snack, and enjoy a throwback to the early days of Pixel Gun 3D. Leave a like if you're signed into YouTube and you want me to make another top 10 video in a few days. Subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already, and let's begin. To start things off, the 10th most newbie weapon in Pixel Gun 3D history was a weapon that made the news about 2 years ago. Late 2017 was kind of the peak of all the newbie guns in this game, and one that stood out was the Soul Thief. I'm sure you might remember the Soul Thief, but the big reason why this gun was a majorly newbie weapon was the fact that it had a relatively fast firing rate, it was a one-shot kill, and it had the penetration effect. This meant in a map like Silent School, for example, if 4 people were in the main hallway, you had to shoot one time, and that one blast would kill all of them. The radius of this blast was massive as well. It was such a slow-moving blast, but it still was almost impossible to avoid. If you saw that thing coming toward you, it was game over. But luckily not forever, because the Pixel Gun 3D developers nerfed it about a year later. Moving up the list, the 9th most newbie weapon in Pixel Gun 3D history is a weapon you might remember me complaining about a lot. The Dragon Whistle. Yes, a couple years ago, this gadget was one of the biggest problems in this game, for the sheer fact that it was basically the Soul Thief, but with a bigger radius, and it traveled a lot faster. Now, granted, you only could fire this one time every minute or so, but that one shot was enough to do massive damage. It's crazy to think how powerful it was, and you'd never know if someone had it either. You could run up to somebody thinking you could get a nice, easy melee kill, and they just turn around and then one-shot you with the Dragon Whistle. You would have no time to react, and that dragon that came out of this weapon is completely unavoidable. So yes, this was one of the newbiest weapons ever. But do you know about another gun that's even more newbie than the Dragon Whistle? The Adamant Bomber. Doesn't that name strike fear down your bones? I mean, for me it does. Back a few months ago, when this gun was a lot more powerful, I knew if I saw someone with this in a match, that was it. I was screwed. The biggest noobs in Pixel Gun 3D history would run around like headless chickens, spamming the firing button on this gun, aiming at absolutely nothing, and then somehow, since it had the ability to have its grenades bounce off of the walls, it would kill absolutely everyone. Like 30 kills a match type of everyone, and these people don't even know what they're doing. I ranted about this gun and the toy bomber for a while, but for whatever reason, they keep adding in more bouncing grenade weapons like these. So who knows? We may have another newbie weapon that's even more powerful than the Adamant Bomber in the near future. Continuing on up the list, the 7th most newbie weapon in Pixel Gun 3D happens to be a gun that doesn't exist anymore. Whereas with a lot of weapons on this list, they've been nerfed a lot in recent updates, that's not the case with the Judge. Yes, the Judge was an unbelievably newbie weapon. It's actually insane. Back when this gun existed, it was completely unique in the fact that it was the only weapon where you could control the missile fired out of it. Here's the problem though, it was a one-shot kill. And you'd have these Pixel Gun noobs hiding in places where enemies will never find them, just spamming the Judge left and right and getting a ton of kills without ever worrying about dying themselves. It was a passive way to play the game, and that's not how you should play this game. I feel like if it was maybe a 2 or a 3 shot kill, with a faster firing rates and a higher capacity, it would have been more balanced. But in a game with maps as small as Pixel Gun 3D, it never worked well, and it was always one of the most noobiest weapons ever. Onwards and upwards, the 6th most newbie weapon in Pixel Gun 3D history is the newest weapon on our list, the Raccoon with a pipe. This melee weapon was insane before it got nerfed just a few days ago. I'm sure we all remember it. It had the biggest area damage out of any melee weapon in Pixel Gun 3D history. I don't have any footage of it before the nerf, but I mean, you can find other videos on YouTube showing it. Think about it. A melee has infinite ammo, right? Essentially, that's basically what I would say. And it also has a massive range of like 5 feet away from your player. It's an area damage melee too, so that range is all around your player, and it was many times a 2-shot kill. What? From what I heard, pretty much everybody who bought this weapon used it almost all the time. And if one person had the Raccoon with a pipe in a match, they were pretty much guaranteed to get the win. It's a crazy powerful melee, man. But do you know about a melee that was actually more powerful at its peak than the Raccoon with a pipe ever was? That's right, it's the Stormhammer. Aside from one other weapon you'll hear me talk about later on in this video, the Stormhammer is the #1 most ranted on weapon on the ExxotikGaming YouTube channel. I swear to God. In 2016 and 2017, I hated this thing, man. It was a 1-shot kill area damage melee weapon, and it had an even faster swinging rate than the Raccoon with a pipe. I mean, do I really need to say anything more? The background gameplay pretty much easily shows just how powerful this melee was in 2016. And luckily, it was nerfed about a year and a half later. The big reason why it was so newbie was the simple fact that so many people had it. I mean, it was so easy to get back in the day, and a lot of people even hacked for it. So every single match you went into was screwed over by some noob with a Stormhammer. My friends, however, we are not finished with this video yet. We have 4 more newbie weapons, even more newbie than the Stormhammer. Number 4, the Singular Grenade. I hated the Singular Grenade when it came out, and I still hate this thing with a passion. In present-day Pixel Gun 3D, I'd say this is arguably the most newbie weapon in the game right now. Think about it. Someone is trying to shoot at you with a primary weapon like the Excalibur, for example, and they can't because they're bad. Well, the Singular Grenade comes into play because the second someone throws it, any other player who gets too close gets stuck inside the center of the grenade. It's kind of like pulling gravity into itself, sort of like a black hole in real life. Well, a noob's gonna keep using this thing because it traps enemies and makes it super easy to kill them. The enemy literally can't even move. So yes, it is one of the most newbie things to ever exist in this game. Now I'm sure you saw this one coming. The 3rd most newbie weapon in Pixel Gun 3D history can be none other than the Ghost Lantern. I really don't like the Ghost Lantern, and I'm sure you guys know that watching the past few years of videos on my channel. This gun came out in late 2016, and when it did, it completely broke the game. It was a slow-moving, through-wall, 1-shot kill weapon with the biggest hitbox out of anything in the game. The ghost that came out of this gun took up the entire hallway of Silence School, and you could not escape it. You were never safe from someone with the Ghost Lantern because even hiding behind a wall would result in you dying from that 1-shot demon weapon that we all dread in this game. It has been nerfed in recent years, but it's still unbelievably powerful. No skill is required when using this thing, and that's why it's still one of the most newbie weapons in this game. Getting close to the end of this list now, the 2nd most newbie weapon in Pixel Gun 3D history is something else that was removed about a year ago. Any guesses? What do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. If you guessed the Smart Bullet Bazooka, you were right. Imagine a 2 to 3 shot, fast-firing area damage bazooka that tracks the enemies before it kills them. This was the ultimate example of a noob weapon in Pixel Gun 3D. A grandmother could do well with this thing. A 1-year-old could do well with this thing. Anybody, even a frog could do well with the smart bullet bazooka if you taught it. You only needed to spawn into a match and then press the firing button. That's it, no skill required. The rockets would automatically find an enemy and kill them without you ever even aiming at them. The biggest noobs in the world use the smart bullet bazooka, and that's probably why it was taken out of the game about 2 years later. And last, but certainly not least, the #1 most newbie weapon in Pixel Gun 3D is actually a combination 3-way tie of 3 weapons in this game. The magic bow, the crystal crossbow, and the Archimage dragon wands. You might be very confused because, well, these weapons aren't that powerful nowadays, simple as that. However, back in 2014, that was a very different story. As you can see in the background, they shot through walls. They were many times a one-shot kill, and the key thing was you didn't actually need to aim directly at an enemy in order to kill them. If you fired sort of close to an enemy, the game would still register that you hit them, and no matter how far away from an enemy you were, no matter how many walls you shot through, these weapons would always have perfect accuracy and always register the kill. And with that, that crowns them the most newbie weapons in Pixel Gun 3D history. And that brings us to the end of this list. A few honorable mentions, some other newbie weapons that didn't quite make the list. The supercharged rifle, the little Cthulhu, the plasma releaser, and the anti-gravity blaster. In truth, there are many newbie weapons in Pixel Gun 3D. There are still easily over 200 weapons that exist that don't require much skill to get good gameplay with. That includes every single area damage weapon, and weapons that are simply massively overpowered. What do you think about the list? Did you agree with it? Did you not agree with it? Let me know down below in the comments, and comment below what your list would be. I'm curious in hearing your opinions. If you thought this video was well made and you thought I commentated well, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel for more Pixel Gun 3D content coming out very soon, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.